is moderate drinking healthier versus no drinking? And let's define actually what moderate alcohol consumption is. So moderate alcohol consumption, at least from the standards we have today, is drinking either 1 serving of alcohol a day for females or 2 servings of alcohol a day for males. And when we talk about a serving, what does a serving actually mean? This is about 1.5 ounces of liquor. So if you're thinking like hard liquor, like whiskeys or shots, 1.5 ounces of liquor is 1 serving. In addition to this, 5 ounces of wine is 1 serving, and also 12 ounces of beer is 1 serving of alcohol. So when we're thinking about moderate consumption, if you are a male and you're drinking let's say two 12-ounce beers a day, technically you're drinking moderate. If you're drinking anything over that, which is fairly prevalent, you are technically over the moderate consumption. So you're in that chronic use, which we talked about earlier, all those different poor health outcomes that can come with this. So really not a good thing. Also a huge issue with these serving sizes is that people really don't understand how much alcohol they're drinking. So I say 12 ounces of a beer. That's pretty easy to know, like a 12-ounce bottle of beer. But a lot of people, if you go out to eat, maybe you have a giant glass of beer, you're probably thinking, oh, that's a serving of beer, right? But that serving of beer could be 2, maybe even 3 servings of alcohol. In addition to this, I could see this with wine a lot. Sometimes people will get a big, tall glass of wine and they'll think that's a serving of wine. And in reality, is that serving of wine, that giant wine glass, might actually have 10, 12, 15 ounces of wine in it. So you're talking about thinking you're going from 1 to 2 servings of alcohol a day, all the way up to into that chronic overuse alcohol. That's a huge issue, guys. Huge issue. So just something to realize when if you are considering consuming alcohol, to note exactly how much it is. I'm not saying you got to weigh it out, but realize that if you're drinking it out, it might be a little different. Also, there are some flaws with the moderate consumption, I guess not method, but what we talk about when we think about moderate consumption. 2 drinks for males and 1 drink for female. Neither of these individuals are the same. As in, you might have one female that weighs 130 pounds. 1 drink of alcohol is going to affect them a lot different than a female who weighs 180 pounds. And also the same thing for males. So although we have these standards of what moderate consumption is, it's almost like caloric intake. You know, you wouldn't say one person should eat 2,000 calories, or you should say everyone should eat 2,000 calories, because not everybody should eat 2,000 calories. Some people need more, some people need less. I don't know where you go from this, because we do kind of need a standard to assess that. So 2 drinks, once again, a day is moderate consumption for males, 1 drink a day for females. I will say this is the average for daily, but if you, let's say on the weekend, you drink 7 drinks on the weekend, but no drinks the rest of the week, technically you would have hit that 1 drink a day average. But this is going to have profound differences on your health. So this is kind of another issue with the averaging of this moderate consumption, is that some people do actually 1 a day, and some people stack it all on the weekend, and obviously those people are not going to be better off stacking, quote unquote, their alcohol consumption. So let's talk about some benefits and maybe even some risks with moderate alcohol consumption. So some of the benefits that have been touted over time, moderate consumption of alcohol may slightly lead to some benefits in blood sugar regulation. There may offer a slight reduction in heart disease chances. But the problem with this is that there's actually some new research coming in that a lot of this might not be as true as people once thought. So this is still kind of an evolving field in all this. So there are some potential benefits, but there also is some risk too. One other benefit that might not be talked about a lot is that if you are somebody who's maybe socially awkward or you can't fit in well at parties, it could technically loosen you up, quote unquote, to maybe talk and communicate a little bit better. But at the same time, we need to ask ourselves, like, if that is something that we need to communicate well, that could potentially be a risk. And speaking of more risks, even with moderate drinking, you might be shocked. There's actually a risk to moderate drinking. Yes. All that stuff we mentioned earlier with the chronic drinking alcohol use can bleed into moderate drinking somewhat. Specifically, decreased quality of sleep, that's a huge one. Even if you are drinking moderately, your overall sleep is not going to be as good. So your deep sleep specifically is going to be very highly affected by this. So if you think about your sleep being affected, that has a huge correlation with all the other chronic diseases that we know. So somebody who sleeps worse, they have a worse chance of developing heart disease, developing diabetes, just recovering from daily life, premature death. You know, if you don't sleep good, your hormones, your stress, everything's going to be out of the whack. Sleep is highly affected with even moderate alcohol consumption. So that's a huge thing that I don't think a lot of people realize, because they may think, oh, I can fall asleep fine. What's the harm? Well, your actually quality of sleep is not nearly as good. Another thing, risk I should say, with moderate consumption is that it does intake your, the intake of your overall calories actually goes up quite tremendously. And we'll talk a little bit later about different types of alcohol that you might intake to try to lose fat or maintain your weight better. But alcohol actually has 7 calories per gram of consumption. So if you're thinking about this, fat, as in like peanut butter, something that's very caloric dense, 7 calories per gram is what alcohol has. So it's something that is very hard if you are trying to lose weight to actually fit in, because you're adding extra liquid calories that most people don't think, hey, this is really going to affect my overall alcohol intake, affect my overall eating intake and eating patterns, but it actually does. There's a lot of extra calories from alcohol that comes from that. And I will say, kind of to end this, is moderately drinking better than no drinking? There really is no benefit from moderate drinking versus no drinking. So if you are deciding like, oh, I might want to drink, I might not want to drink, you're better off not drinking, because the benefits from not drinking far outweigh the benefits from drinking moderately, if that makes sense.